This is a 2025 Toyota RAV4, specifically this one being a GR Sport plug-in hybrid. But Toyota are well known for their hybrid systems, especially their self-charging hybrids, and the efficiency of this one, even when it runs out of its supposed 45-mile electric range, is still great. I'm still achieving 45 mpg plus easily. So this being a smooth and efficient car in comparison to some of its rivals is probably a strong selling point. But with lots of contenders out there such as the Ford Kuga, Hyundai Tucson and Kia Sportage, does this car still do enough to have your cash in 2026? Bear in mind this is the outgoing version, so they are bringing out a new model. This one was introduced as far back as 2018, so there is a new model on the way which has an updated interior, which is probably much needed at this stage. But I still think if you can find one of these on a good deal, it is actually a really interesting proposition. So what I'm going to do today is take you on a full tour of the car and get it out on the road and see what I think. But before we get into the video, if you're looking to buy or sell a car, please check out my links in the description below. My dealership partner, Players Cars Premium, will be all you need in terms of sourcing your next car. Low finance as low as 6.9% APR, free home delivery, and we can communicate with you 24/7 by WhatsApp. So no pesky emails and waiting around. It's a really fast and easy way to get yourself a new car on finance. And if you're looking to sell a car, my CarWow links will enable you to just pop your reg in, get an instant valuation, and they'll come and collect it from your door as well. So buying and selling made super easy with my links below. So bear in mind, again, this is the outgoing model, runs from sort of 2018 to 2025 for the entry-level dynamic trim, which is a front-wheel drive only, but they're all 2.5 litre CVT vehicles. So the entry-level car is around 220 horsepower, 0 to 60 in around sort of 8.5 seconds-ish for the front-wheel drive version and around 8 seconds for the all-wheel drive version. Combined fuel economy for the standard self-charging car is around 45 mpg, and the trims slowly climb until you get to the plug-in hybrid, which is what I have here today. Again, still the same 2.5 litre engine with the CVT transmission, but this one is quite quick, around 306 horsepower and 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds. Combined WLTP, they say 282 mpg, but obviously that completely depends on your usage. It has around 45 miles of electric range, which isn't the best in sort of this day and age, but it's not bad at all. Obviously, if you're just commuting around town, doing the school run, all that kind of thing, you can use mostly electric for that. So that's when you'd really start achieving those really crazy mpg figures. But what I will say is Toyota's economy is really good even when the battery runs out. I'm still achieving 45 to 50 mpg with no charge in the battery at all in this car, which is really good, and it still feels really smooth thanks to the way it utilises the hybrid, very similar to their Prius and Corolla and so on. I do recommend the all-wheel drive options, obviously, because the front-wheel drive will feel a little bit skittish at times in a car of this size. But one thing I will say is obviously all the plugins will get that all-wheel drive anyway. There's quite a few trim levels to choose from. I won't go too far into them, but you've got a base level icon one, which is LED lights, rear parking sensors, does have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, digital driver's display, and also things like all of your safety systems, so your pre-collision alert, automatic highway driving assist, all that kind of stuff. Not quite as advanced as the Kia Hyundai stuff, but still good that it comes with that stuff as standard. XL trim adds larger alloys, blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, heated front seats and power adjustable driver's seat with lumbar support and a heated steering wheel. Then the one I have here today is the GR Sport. The GR Sport includes paddle shifts, which I'll get onto in a little bit. Quite a strange one, I know you're thinking, if it's just a CVT transmission. Has also a black style impact and sportier design cues, including redesigned bumpers and skirts and things like that. Also adds wireless charging and head-up display as well, and the head-up display is actually really good on these. So let's have a little look around it then. I think in this GR Sport trim, it looks really, really good. And this is in a metallic pearl white, which really is a great paint job. It doesn't really look fantastic in these lighting conditions that I've got here. As you can see, it's quite a gloomy day here in the UK, but when the sun hits this or at night time, this thing really pops and it's got almost a silver pearl shimmer to it. But yeah, I think it just looks really good. This looks way better in my opinion than the previous RAV cars. And in this GR Sport with this more aggressive styling, you can see we've got a gloss black grille with the GR badging here. Really looks cool. You've got the camera there and some more aggressive bumper inserts, including these fog surrounds. And then you've got LED lights up the front, looks really good. And then on this one, the contrast in black trim around it. I think it just looks the part. It looks quite aggressive, looks quite sporty. I think obviously a contrasting color like this looks good, but it does look good all blacked out as well. just definitely a big upgrade from the previous generation RAV cars, and I think quite a boxy and aggressive style, even though this one was introduced in 2018. Even on the sportiest trim level as well, we do have some reasonably chunky tyres, which I think helps with the ride comfort overall and will probably help keep costs down rather than using kind of expensive low profile run flats and things like that. As we go down the side of the car, we do still have some kind of chrome accents towards the top, as you can see, but a lot of the black pack stuff on this does make it stand out against the white especially. And again, the GR styling does help because at the back we have this GR Sport emblem, which is always really cool, the Gazoo Racing. And then at the bottom we have these nice polished exhaust tips, which are actually real exhausts as well. There's no fakery going on here. You can tell from miles off that these are genuine exhausts, which is always a nice touch because a lot of them have fake stuff on nowadays. And on this one, kind of old-fashioned lighting setup, obviously being a slightly older design car, there's nothing too fancy in terms of like LED and animation and dynamic lights and things like that, which is a bit of a shame. But this does kind of go with the kind of more utilitarian, more robust theme that Toyota want to give for these cars, almost like with their Land Cruiser models. It's kind of just a little bit more robust in its design, and you can tell that from the interior as well, which we'll move on to in just a moment. But I'd love to know what you think of this styling. The more I look at this, the more I like it, and I didn't really want to like this that much because I love the tech on the Kias, Hyundais and stuff like that, but this just has something about it that you know will stand the test of time. It doesn't support the super fast charging or anything like that, but obviously it's a very small battery, so it's not really necessary to charge it up at kind of like your motorway services and stuff like that. I like just the way it looks down the side as well, the kind of the crease there, this little profile here, and then you've got that kind of lip spoiler at the top, which I think looks quite cool as well. Just really kind of rugged look to it. So stepping into the RAV4 then, as we open it up, nice robust handles. It's got a touch sensor on the back for the keyless entry on this model, and then it's got the sensor on the door there to tap to lock, which is nice. As we open the door, super heavy, and that is either a good or a bad thing. Either it's going to be a good thing because you feel it's robust, it's going to stand the test of time, or if you're kind of elderly or if you've got some issues with mobility, might find it a little bit challenging over time. Also, the kiddies I think are going to struggle to open these doors because they are really heavy. But there is a little bit of kind of lip at the bottom, which is handy for if you're going to be kind of off-roading a little bit. It stops the sort of mud building up. This is actually like a really small lip to get in, which is nice. It's quite unusual to see such a small step to get into such a large car, so that's quite a cool design. And on the doors you can see we've got in this one kind of a mix of materials. It's kind of this like fake leather, like a pleather material with contrast stitching, and it does feel quite cheap, but it is squishy, which is always a bonus. It does feel like it's going to be fairly easy to keep clean, and it's not going to wear too easily, which is always a plus. We do have some kind of old-fashioned locks, which some people might like. Everything is just pretty standard, to be honest. Standard window switches, standard mirror switches. You do have a nice rubber grip in here for the door handle. This is really chunky, feels like a nice off-road car type deal. And this, yeah, super grippy, so it's just got like a bit of a quality hefty feel to it. Down here we've got a RAV4 moniker on the speaker grille, and then a space for bottles and a small door bin as well. And then GR on this model on the door sill. As you can see, we have kind of a half suede and half leather GR sports seat in this particular car, and dark headlining, no sunroof unfortunately. But yeah, some decent side bolstering. This one has lumbar support electrically as well, which is only two-way, so you can't adjust it up or down. But they're relatively nice seats. They're quite supportive, but quite plush as well. You can see nice sort of suede material there. You can see how much brush you can get on that, which is nice. And yeah, basic electric adjustments down there. Nothing groundbreaking, but does the trick certainly. And as we step into the cabin, you can see a pretty utilitarian and robust layout. Kind of maybe a little bit less plush and a little bit more about practicality, but let's step inside and see what you think. So foot on the brake, I'm going to hit the power switch, which is round here, and that will get the car switched on. It will do its little startup sequence there, and I'll take you on a bit of a tour. Again, this interior is set to be replaced in 2026, but there are some key features in here that I do really like compared to some other cars. This steering wheel is decent, not the best, but it does have nice physical controls on it. So you've got controls for the display and your calls and volume and so on. A cruise control on this side and your mode buttons and track skip. But yeah, It's not quite as comprehensive in terms of its drive modes as a Kia or Hyundai. On those, you have one button on the steering wheel that you can press and it will then basically steer automatically in lane for you, whereas this has a sort of a lane keep assist button, but it doesn't do quite the same thing. You have to use cruise control if you want it to auto steer. But yeah, materials, again, pretty robust. It's kind of squidgy fake leather up here. Again, doesn't feel great quality, but feels like it will survive the test of time a little bit more than other cars. Basic vents, which I think are quite a nice design, feel quite robust and chunky as well. Got a little kind of area down here, not sure what you'd use that for, but there's a little space. And then down here you've got your tailgate, your camera button, and also a heated steering wheel button. I don't like the fact that it's down here. It's a bit weird, but you know, I'll get over it. But the heated steering wheel is a little bit disappointing because for some reason they've only done the side parts. So the top bit is cold, bottom bit is cold. It's only the side bolstered bits from here to here which actually heat up, which I feel like is a little bit of a cop out. And then looking around the rest of the cabin, you do have some kind of basic touches of practicality. So there's a little shelf on here which you could put maybe a phone or two on, a few other little bits. And then as we go into the glove box, little soft touch glove box, not massive but sufficient. You get a nice bit of trim that runs along here, and again, a kind of a squishy material on the dash, which isn't the highest quality, but feels pretty easy to keep clean and definitely better than harsh plastics. Up here, you just have a hazard switch and your main screen. So in this one, I have the sort of upgraded screens. Older models and more basic trims will not have this same layout. They might have some physical dials with a screen in the middle. I think this screen is okay. There's quite a lot of adjustment on it, so I can press OK on the steering wheel to go in and adjust each individual part of the screen. So you can have like your average economy, EV driving ratio, tire pressure, various bits and bobs, and you can customize each area based on what you want to see. So there's kind of 3 different areas. So it kind of works okay. It is a little bit fussy though, and this screen isn't the best quality. There's not much contrast to it, so you might be able to pick up on camera a little bit. It looks a little bit washed out compared to this screen, which is a lot better quality. Now this one, let's come out of this. This one, again, very basic. Excuse the flicker as well. That is just a trick of the camera because it's probably quite a low refresh rate display. But yeah, it just has really basic stuff like your charging schedule. It's very, very basic. Nothing like Kia's, Hyundai's and all that. They've got loads more that you can do with the infotainment. But of course, this supports just your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which is what most people are going to be using most of the time. But again, lesser trims come with a smaller screen that's not as capable. What I will praise though is this area down here. These physical climate controls are really nice. These have got a lovely feel to them. It's very, very, it's not clicky at all, but it's just got this really subtle movement to it that feels super high quality. And these buttons all work really well as well. Obviously you can have dual zone climate. You've got your traction control off button there. These heated seat switches feel a little bit 90s to me. Probably the worst part of the cabin in my opinion. But I also kind of add a bit of a utilitarian charm to it once again, like I said, like, so down for low, up for high, and then you have to kind of position it in the middle for off. Bit fiddly while you're driving, and yeah, feels a little bit naff to be honest, but it's kind of cool in a way as well. And then down here you've got a wireless charging pad, which I don't think is rubberized enough. My phone rattles on this all the time. USB-A, unfortunately, for connectivity, and then your normal cigarette socket as well. And then here, this is where things get super interesting because you've got a nice chunky gear lever, which feels amazing. It's got a switch on the back. You put it down into drive. You've also got a sport mode across with sequential, which is the wrong way around, unfortunately, but I don't really care in this car. But this feels super, super robust. Really, really rugged and chunky feel to it, if that makes sense. And down here, these buttons are super important. So this one here will make sure you hold your charge. So you press this, it turns off EV mode and goes into a full self-charging hybrid mode. So if you want to preserve your battery life and just run mainly on the engine, this one will do that. And then this button here automatically switches between EV and hybrid. But most of the time it will try and prioritize electric only. And the electric only drivetrain is fast enough that you can use it without the petrol engine most of the time once it's charged up. And then you've got your drive mode select. So you can go over into sport. Sport will change this display here, and this will kind of sharpen up the throttle response quite significantly as well in the electric only mode. And it also changes down here as well. So you can also go left into eco mode, which is a slightly more kind of dampened mode with less throttle response. And then you just press it in for normal normal. I like the way that this is kind of like a cog. It's pretty cool, and yeah, the sport mode definitely makes quite a big difference in terms of the overall responsiveness of the car. There's also trail mode as well, which is kind of for your four-wheel drive modes for if you're doing some off-roading stuff. Again, materials do feel a little bit cheap, low down especially. Listen to this. Really horrible scratchy plastic there. These cars are far less likely to show wear and tear on the interiors than some of the key rivals, and the same goes for this stuff here. This again is a really nasty, cheap fake leather, but I don't really care because I'm not touching it, I'm just resting my elbow on it. In here, weirdly, 2 USB-C. Nice deep cup holders as well. This looks like very American market oriented. You can fit your big Stanleys in there, you can fit your absolute jumbo sized fast food drinks as well. So yeah, overall, it's a decent cabin in terms of ergonomics. It doesn't stand out in terms of tech at all in comparison to key rivals now, especially with the Chinese EVs hitting the market and your Kias and Hyundais, which are really, really good in this space. However, everything does feel well damped and has quite a nice kind of feel in the hand to it, especially like the gear lever, the steering and weight and that kind of thing. It feels like it's going to survive quite a long time period, and Toyota are known for their reliability as well in that regard. The head-up display as well, I don't know how well you can see that, but it is really good, and it provides enough information on there about your navigation, song changes and speed and stuff that I don't really look at this screen anyway. But yeah, obviously be aware that's not standard on all models. You do also have some normal practical touches like a sunglasses holder up here, some basic LED lighting, and yeah, everything is pretty kind of built to purpose, but works okay. Visibility out the back, as you can see, not terrible, because even though you have a big chunky pillar, you've got a little window there as well, and the rear window is okay size, and also you've got pretty decent sized door mirrors as well as the cameras, and the cameras are really good. When you put it into reverse, it will bring them up on screen, and you get a 360 top down cam. When you move the car, it will build you up a view of what's on the road. So if I put it reverse now, I've let the camera build up, you can see actually that arrow passing underneath the car, so I know exactly where it is, which I think is a really, really nice trick. And then heading into the back of the RAV4, it is a pretty basic rear part of the car back here, but very spacious indeed, which I'm pretty happy to report. Again, very basic contrasting squishy leather materials back here. This one does have rear heated seats as well, which is nice, and the same kind of robust materials, although this one not quite as rubberized as the front. This is more of a plastic finish, but yeah, does the trick. And then back here you've got Isofix points and side airbags. The Isofix are the squish between the seat kind, so a little bit frustrating if you're in a situation where you're going to be wanting to put those in and you might end up ruining this, but because it's not leather, shouldn't be too much of a problem. And in the middle you have a pull down with some cup holders, which are very basic but do the trick. Ventilation back here and some USB-C charge points, but nothing too fancy. Even the backs of the seats don't really have any major storage. You can see it's not the best quality material back here, but gets the job done, and the roominess is what you're going to be impressed with. And also the fact that even on this car with an ICE, it's actually got fairly decent transmission tunnel. Like, it's quite flat, isn't it, in the middle there, which is nice, because a lot of cars in this class, if they have a combustion engine, have a massive hump there. And if I jump in, I can show you it's quite comfy back here as well. So then hopping into the back of the RAV4. Now what I will say is space is pretty plentiful, to be fair. Even at 6 foot, I find it quite comfortable back here. There's not really extra special features, as I mentioned, but as you can see, plentiful headroom for me at 6 foot, and not as much thigh support. But if I kind of stretch out and get comfy, it's actually not too bad, and there's quite a steep recline on this chair as well, so really it's actually going to be quite a nice place to spend a bit of time. If I pop this down as well, obviously your cup holders and that in there, yeah, I think I could get pretty comfy back here. If I wanted to sit in the middle, it's definitely more plausible than in some other cars, but 3 adults back here would definitely be too much of a push. But for 3 kiddies or 2 larger adults, absolutely fine. Just don't expect anything too luxurious. As for the electric tailgate, it's decent but a bit slow, as you can see. Takes a little while to go up and down, but once you're in, you'll notice that there is a pretty decent load area, nice and flat to get in as well, which is always a big help. And of course a load cover that is really easily retractable and removable. So if the load cover retracted, you can see a quite generous space, and it's kind of almost like at a bit of a slant, so you can see loading it will be super easy. But again, not really any great features back here in comparison to some rivals. You do have a vehicle to load socket back here, but it's not a UK plug, and you also get your standard cigarette socket as well. But yeah, not as many tie hooks and stuff as you might hope. There are 2 on these corners, but nothing too fancy. It is, however, quite easy to remove this load cover. It is literally just a pull out, very similar to what you would get in sort of Kias and Hyundais and stuff, so that's nice and easy to remove. There is also a storage spot for that load cover under the floor, so obviously you've got your charge cables and bits and bobs in there as well, but that means that you can quite easily empty this space to put these seats down. Now unfortunately there's no kind of handles back here for you to do it. You do have to either lean in or go around the side, so I'm just going to lean into the car here and press those pop down, but this kind of Velcro material here makes sure that the carpet extends to make a nice flat load area. So as you can see then, creates a really nice space in the back. Absolutely going to be easy to load loads of stuff in there, and I could quite comfortably probably lay down in here as well. So a nice easy space. As we go around the side, obviously we'll have to go around here to put the seats back up, but thankfully because the seat belts don't snag, these are on nice runners, which always makes a nice difference. So these are super easy to just put up with one hand again, unlike in some other cars where you have to mess around with levers and stuff. So that makes it super easy and practical to kind of reconfigure this back to a normal space. So to be fair, top marks for ease of use. It is a shame though you don't have a middle split. It is a 60/40, but to be honest, it does make it a little bit easier to use, so not too many complaints. There is no ski hatch though, so if you want to do longer items, realistically you'll have to use just this side, put that side down. But yeah, standard space wise, you can see I've got my laptop bag, camera bag, tripod and all that, and still ample room for luggage in there. So then I think it's about time we jump in and take it on the road and let you know exactly what I think. So if you don't know what a CVT transmission is, it's basically like one ratio that's variable, and that basically means that it keeps the engine at peak revs for the best performance and the best efficiency at all times, which means that when you floor it, it can just keep the revs really high and sound like you're just revving the nuts off the car. So sometimes you end up sounding like you're in a speedboat, which is a disadvantage, but the plus side is there's no jerking because there's no changing gears at all, and it can better implement with that electric drivetrain, so it makes for a super smooth driving experience. And this is what the Ford Kuga uses as well. So if I shift it into drive with this purposeful gear lever, I'm going to put it into hybrid so that we've got the engine and... Whoa, yeah. That's actually pretty quick. Engine and the electric drivetrain, and we're already up to national limit there. You saw it's quite a bit of torque actually, 300 horsepower in this particular model. But you did hear that, like I say, it sounds like a bit of a speedboat in that situation. What is a little bit bizarre as well is I can change it into sport mode, and that definitely increases the throttle response of the electric portion of things. And I can press the button down here to turn that off and go into full EV mode as well. And in full EV mode, I don't have the same high-end grunt. It's really a lot of shove off the line, and then once you get to sort of 30 mile an hour plus, it then starts to feel a little bit more sluggish because of the fact that it's you know, it's only using the EV powertrain. But you can also select to put it into automatic so that it switches between hybrid and electric when possible. But in general, even if you absolutely plant it in EV mode, it will stay in EV mode. It won't kick in a combustion engine, which is good because it means that you're not going to get that kind of extra jerk or lurch. You can drive it like an EV if you're just using it to potter to and from the shops or on the school run or whatever. But yeah, I've been choosing to run it mainly in hybrid mode just so that I don't run the battery down, and even then I'm achieving over 45 mpg, so it's absolutely fine really. In terms of ride comfort and refinement, it can be a little bit fidgety even on these thicker profile tyres, but the body roll isn't too bad unless you really start chucking it around. That's when you start to notice there's a bit of body lean. It's kind of your country road driving, which we'll go on to in a little bit. Also, it's somewhat firm and crashy over some kind of bumps and lumps in the road. Definitely not the most refined ride, and there's definitely quite a bit of engine noise in here as well. But in general, provides a smooth driving experience, and I think that where this really excels is actually that drivetrain. The Toyota drivetrain, they do it best when it comes to self-charging hybrid. They just do, and this is no exception. Like, a lot of the time you're driving along and it feels like an EV, and in traffic it's particularly good as well, because even though there's no one pedal drive or any of that EV stuff, it still just feels super smooth in comparison to rivals like the Tucson and the Sportage, because this doesn't use a traditional automatic gearbox like they do. This is the closest rival to this, I would say, is probably the Ford Kuga, which also uses a CVT, because that's also very smooth. And the Kuga, I would say, does handle better, but this just feels a little bit more robust and definitely, I think, looks better. Yeah, driving position, I would say, is pretty good. I wish there was a little bit more space for the elbow on this side so that I could sink into the seat a little bit more on a longer journey. And it really does annoy me, this heated steering wheel is only part heated. It's really bizarre. But yeah, apart from that, I'm pretty happy with the driving position. I've got a really nice commanding view out. I've got my seat quite high, but still got loads of headroom. Visibility out is really good, and that camera system works wonderfully. And yeah, just bumbling along like this. I'm currently in hybrid mode and I can hear that the engine is on, but even if I give it a little bit of a bootful, I can hear mainly the electric motors kick in, and that provides a really instant shove of torque. Toyota's self-charging drivetrain is going to be sufficient for most people, and because of the CVT, it's a lot smoother than some other self-charging hybrid cars. And the ADAS systems aren't too bad either. It will give you a nudge through the steering wheel if you start straying the lane too far, and the beeping isn't too intrusive either on stuff like the speed limit warning and so on. So that's always a good thing. But what I do notice is it's definitely not as good as the Hyundai, Kia and Genesis stuff where, you know, you've got your one-touch driver assist like I mentioned. That is just a little bit more advanced and a little bit nicer for a long journey, takes the fatigue out of driving, whereas in this you really have to delve in to use the radar cruise if you want any autonomy at all. And for such a big heavy car to be achieving nearly 50 miles per gallon in completely depleted battery condition just goes to show how good the Toyota drivetrain really is. And Toyota's warranty is great too, as is their reliability. So realistically, you're going into this with quite a lot of faith. So yeah, if you can't go EV just yet, your day-to-day driving experience in something like this is going to be really ideal. What I don't understand at all is this sport mode gearbox. So it's got these paddles behind the wheel, which are fantastic. They're metal, which puts a lot of other brands to shame, but they're just pointless. Like, it basically kind of simulates a rev range. So it's simulating that I'm in second, but when you go up the gears, there's no jolt to show that you've changed gear or anything. So the only thing it's really doing is changing the amount of revs the engine's giving you. So I guess the power band feels a bit different. So if I go down into second, the engine's revving up quite high, so I get more instant power. But then if I change up a gear, all it does is lower the revs ever so slightly. It doesn't feel like a gear change, and you don't really feel anything happen. So I don't think that's sporty at all. I think it's a total waste of time, and it's weird that they've spent so much time making nice paddles with a nice action for that to happen. Right, sport mode, and let's chuck it round here. The turning circle is actually pretty good on this car, and this being the four-wheel drive model, I'm not really getting much in the way of, wow, yeah, this thing really grips. That was super impressive, you know. I was expecting it to be a completely floppy mess round there, but it held on completely fine. Definitely a bit of body roll, but the turning is more agile and sharp than you might expect from a car of this class. It definitely feels more capable in the bends than your Tucsons and your Sportage. But there's definitely not as much texture through the wheel as something like a Ford Kuga. And the brakes also, there's a bit of a disconnect there. You're kind of used to in traffic that electric shove, and even in sport mode, the engine takes a second with that CVT to kick in and give you peak kind of torque. But yeah, unless you're really pressing on, you're not going to notice that, because no matter when you press the pedal, you do feel that electric shove a little bit, which is nice. Yeah, so hard on the brakes now, and it stops, don't get me wrong, but you can tell that it's got that hybrid kind of sponginess to it. Definitely not the worst I've tried though. There are some electric car brakes and some hybrid brakes where you kind of stamp on them to do an emergency stop, and they go like concrete under your foot, and the car kind of judders as it tries to sort itself out, and thankfully this isn't like that. The other thing as well to note is when you're coming to a stop, the brakes can be quite creaky at low speeds, which again, I guess it's probably due to the regen. But yeah, that's a little bit frustrating because it takes away from that super smooth drivetrain experience at low speeds. But yeah, even with all this weight, stops okay, turning circle super good, pulls you out of a corner nicely in the four-wheel drive system. Most of that power is delivered to the rear wheels in most situations, it seems. And even on a challenging road like this, I've got lots of confidence in the car. But the main thing for me is not this sort of driving. The main thing is going to be the fact that this is just so smooth. And like I said, if you want the latest and greatest in tech, then probably look elsewhere. But if you want something that feels a little bit more rugged and really smooth and nice to drive day to day, I think the RAV is going to be actually quite a nice choice for you. I love this gear selector. It's like, so what I imagine it should feel like in a big truck. Plus these cameras are ridiculously good. Oh yeah, that's satisfying. As you put it into park as well, you hear the doors unlock and you feel the brake come on. Clonk. Oh yeah. I knew that it was a bit outdated, so I wanted to dislike it, but the fact of the matter is I've been plodding around in it for a week now, and I'm actually really fond of it. And I drive a ton of cars, so that's quite the compliment, isn't it? So thank you to Toyota for sending me out the car. I've really enjoyed spending my time with them, testing out their heritage fleet and also some of their newer stuff like this. And thank you guys for watching. Obviously, you are what make the channel possible and me bringing you reviews like this. So please subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. I do appreciate the comments as well. I try and respond to every single one. And like I said, check out those recommendations if you're not too sure. But if you've been looking at this and you've been put off by it, I would say actually go and try one, because I've been pleasantly surprised. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.